Morning guys, Joss here from Barbecue Mafia. It's about 3 degrees this morning, absolutely freezing in Brizzy, but I'm going to cook you some beef ribs on my new GMG Ledge, so let's do it. Alright, so this is the GMG Ledge. A slick little machine. It's the Green Mountain Grill's pellet grill. Pretty basic controls, as you can see. She's firing up now. I just press that power button and she fires up. Starts to warm up. Starts to spin those pellets into that firebox. Alright, but you've got up and down on the temperature control. Goes down, up and down at 5 degrees. You've got obviously 2 spots for probes. You got a bottle opener, which is really, really important. That's the pellet hopper. I'm gonna put some pellets in there actually. This is the chamber. Originally it didn't look as big as my Traeger, the square meterage in here, but yeah, she's pretty big. I'll put the rack system in there, so I've got 2 extra racks on top. Cooked on her 3 or 4 times, and those racks are really good. I chucked a couple of Boston butts on those top racks and cooked a brisket on the bottom. So really good real estate in there. Got a little handy shelf there, and that's obviously where all the that's the oil pan there. So yeah, basic, but pretty cool. I like already, as I said, 4 or 5 times, and she's a good little machine. All right, I'll trim up these beef ribs, but have a look at the marbling on them. Nice and marbled. Chuck ribs, come from a real fatty part of that rib. And these are 4 bones, so I'm going to get a heap of protein out of this. All right, so let's trim them up for you. All right, so there are our 2 racks. Our 2 4-bone racks. Nice marbling. And that's what you want to look for when you're looking for a beef rib. You want to look for that consistency along all of those bones, which this guy is. They're going to pull back on those bones nicely and give you four really good bones to eat off. This guy's a little bit thinner, but obviously really good consistency as well. Nice marbling, all right, with the 4 bones. Sometimes you get it tapering away off an end and you just lose that bone. For when we're cooking for the restaurant, we want to find consistent ribs like this so we can use all that protein and salvage all the bones we can. But that's a really good rack of ribs. All right, I'm going to show you 2 ways to trim the ribs. I trim the fat and the silver skin off the same on both of these, but I'll just show you 2 different ways of the membrane. So the first one is just scoring the membrane. All right, just give it a good score. That way it'll pull away, won't be hard to slice later on. And yeah, it'll get rid of that membrane for you. The other way is to get a bit of paper towel, just so you can pull up one of these corners, find a good corner, which is here, and just find that membrane, grab that membrane. See how I've got it with that nice dry bit of paper towel, makes it a lot easier. And I'm just going to rip that membrane off. Trying to rip it all off in one piece if I can. There we go, that wasn't graceful, but got that membrane off. That's not going to break down, so you just got to get rid of that. Just pull off any other bits that you can find there. Okay, so there we go. That one's, I've removed the membrane from it entirely. I'm using paper towel, and I've just scored that one with the boning knife. All right, so let's trim both of these. All right, so you want to get under this silver skin and get rid of this fat on top. I just like to expose all of the protein on top here. Some methods, some guys don't. They just leave it, rub it up and chuck it on as is. But this way, I want to just get rid of all of this fat on top, all this silver skin. All right, without losing too much protein off it. All right, so you just want to flick your blade up, get underneath that silver skin and that fat and flick your blade up a touch. So you're a few degrees above horizontal, and that makes it easy just to plane the top of this off. Just get under those bits of silver skin. Now you're going to find fat seams like this that are going to take, reclaim a heap of that protein underneath. So just plane it off on top. Don't really try and dig into it and get rid of all of it. You just want to sort of plane it off on the top. That's going to render down a fair bit. And that bone mightn't look as good as the other ones with less fat in them, but make sure you just try and plane off the top of that. You don't want to put any divots or dig out or excavate too much of that, so the fat will render. You will get no bark on there. So I used to be able to get this all off in one piece, but I haven't been on the tools too much lately. Take too much protein off. Each beef rib's different too. Fat veins running through it. Obviously different intermuscular fat. So yeah, sometimes you'll find a mutant. See this bit here, I'm going to square this off obviously, because have a look at that. That's just going to cook really, really quickly. So I'm just going to square this off on the edge. I'm just going to, so it's nice and uniform. So you want to sort of square it up as much as you can. Get rid of these bits here. I'm just going to try and just clean up this fat here without taking too much more off. Pretty happy with that one. As you can see, I've gotten rid of all the silver skin, a little bit of protein where I've squared it off, but I'm pretty happy with that one. Now let's get this second one. So it's got a really even fat cap on top of it. So I'm going to try and get in underneath this silver skin and try and remove a lot of it all at once. Alright, so I've got a good little bit of it there. Spinning around, always obviously cut away from yourself. Obviously I'm flicking up, so I'm trying to just get this fat and silver skin, not too much protein. Let's see how we've gone. Yeah, not too bad. So that's that silver skin and fat that's not going to break down. I'll just get this little piece off here. And then it's just a matter of planing the top of this fat off. As I said, don't take too many divots. You don't want to excavate too much, because you want that bark to sit on top and form up and dry up really nicely over the top of this. And this needs a little bit of squaring off. You've got a little bit of on the edge here. Look how like marble that is. It's beautiful. So I've got a bit of bone there. So you're going to square it up. Nothing hanging off. That's sort of what you want to go for. Nice and square. I've gotten rid of most of that silver skin and fat. There's a little bit left there, but we'll get rid of that in the cook. All right, time to rub her up. So we're going our red label steak out first. Obviously nice and textured. It's got that nice pepper in there, real Texas style rub. So you want to give a good coverage on both of these guys. Just pat them down. You can use a binder if you want, use mustard or whatever you want. These guys have been sitting out for a little bit, so they're sweating. So that rub will adhere to the protein anyway. But yeah, by all means use a binder. Just want to get the sides of this beef rib, all exposed protein on this beef rib. Don't worry about the bottom. So good coverage. And then we're just going to fill in the gaps with our OG stakeout. All right, a lot finer. It's a lot finer. All right, we're just going to fill it in. Get that nice black bark on the outside. Give it a pat on each edge. They're ready to go. Nice coverage on it. Bit of texture, ready to go. Chuck them in the smoker. And I've got this guy sitting with us on 238 at the moment, but 235, 240 is what I'm going to smoke these beef ribs on. All right, so we're just going to let it do a job, and yeah, now it's a waiting game. Easy to use controls, obviously Wi-Fi to your phone. Put the probe thermometers in there if you like. I just like using my instant read. It's got this awesome little cool little window for you to have a look. All right, a couple of hours in. All right, that bark's starting to form, which is good. Getting a little bit of bone pull. A little bit of bone pull on the end there, which is good. Starting to cook. She's still got a little bit to go, but I might just give her a bit of a spritz. I'm just spritzing with water. Spritz that bark, that constant moisture then drying, and obviously smoke is attracted to moisture. You get a good smoke penetration, but also that bark, you want to get that bark forming. And how I know my beef ribs are ready to wrap in foil, which we do wrap in foil, is when that bark is formed. Got that nice casing on the outside. We'll wrap after that, but I reckon that's an hour, hour and a half off. We want to see a little bit more bone pull, a little bit more bark formation. Away we go. Well, that smoke's starting to ramp up. Now I've opened that door on that GMG. She ramps up. She knows that temperature's dropping, so it ramps up, chucks heaps more pellets in that firebox to get it going. So that's what you can hear and see. All right, 3 and a bit hours in. Let's see how they're going. All right, so that's the first rack. What do you reckon? That bark's nice and formed. It's not falling off. All right, and it obviously feels like it's cooking as well. Second rack. Looking good as well. Bone pull. Really, really nice. They're good to wrap. And just as an FYI, I'll just show you the temperature. I'll get this guy going. I don't really go on temp, but that's at 68 degrees Celsius internal. All right, so anywhere between that 65, 75 degrees I find is when I wrap. But as I said, I don't go by internal temperature when I wrap. I go by bark formation. And in this case, bone pull as well. So let's wrap these guys up. All right, so to wrap these guys, obviously thick foil, and I always put it lengthways, so I'm gonna wrap not over the ends of the bones, I'm gonna wrap with the ends of the bones. All right, so I'm just one to boat it. Just put these ends up. Now, if it pierces the foil, just re-wrap it. And then I'm gonna turn and wrap against the bones with this one. All right, and that's all I do when I wrap beef ribs. All right, 2 is pretty good, unless I said if the bones penetrate that foil. But that's perfect. With this second wrap, so wrap with the bones. So we boat the first one. Make sure we're keeping all that moisture in there. This quickens up the cook using foil, obviously. And I like the moisture retention that it has. I've always done this from the start, and it's the method that I know, so you always wrap in foil. All right, switch them up. And tuck them under. And she's good to go. Make sure there's no air pockets. She's good to go. All right, both wrapped. Chuck them back in there. And they're gonna be good for, I reckon, at least an hour, hour and a half, and they'll come up to temp. But as I said, we're gonna go by feel. 96 degrees Celsius or 205 Fahrenheit is what we're looking for this to start to be ready. But with beef ribs, you can take them a lot further, so you can give them an extra half an hour on top. But we'll just let them cook, let them do their own thing, and they'll be ready when they're ready. Okay, these guys have been cooking for 2 hours in the foil, so 2 hours wrapped. I've got a feeling they're going to be ready. So we're looking for 96, there we go, 98, 99, 96, 97. So these are ready, probing like butter. Yep, no resistance. All right, you can feel that they've pulled back from those bones as well. They're nice and soft. All right, so they're ready to rest. We're going to rest them for an hour at least, so they're nice and tender when we slice them up. Okay, so she's been resting for an hour and a half. I'm going to open this up and slice it for you. See what we're looking at. All right, remember we wrapped it twice. Oh, there we go. I'll just be careful picking that up because that's going to fall apart. But that was our smaller rack of beef ribs. All right, but as you can see, beautiful bark, pulled away from the bone nicely. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, so let's slice her up. Get right in the middle here. Get this nice middle one. And there we go. There's that beef rib. Got the nice smoke ring on the outside. Absolutely gorgeous. And that's going to fall apart when I push in there, which is what you want. And that is a great eat. Alrighty, so there's our little beef rib cook. Awesome smoke ring, nice and soft. On the GMG Ledge. First time I cooked beef ribs on it. Very, very impressed, especially with that smoke ring. That smoke penetration is pretty awesome. Very happy with how the ribs have turned out. Still nice and moist. Thank you to the guys at Smoked Barbecue Co. down the coast. This GMG Ledge is unreal. I'm going to use it more for a lot of my cooks. But there's only one thing to do now, and that's to eat this beef rib. Let's do it. Beefy, smoky. It's on the rib, caveman style. Get onto it, guys.